for it too.
Stop right there.
Reparations for white folks.
Stop right there, because that is the next video.
Referring to is the Homestead Act of 1862, or H.R. 125, legislation to, quote, secure homesteads to actual settlers of public domain. The policy incentivized citizens to move onto and settle land that had been violently stolen from indigenous nations. It provided 160-acre land grants to over 1 million white families for a small fee, but excluded the 4 million formerly enslaved people from the program who had already been denied the 40-acre land grants they'd been promised. Through the act, 270 million acres of land was settled across 30 states over 124 years. Remember, owning land generates income, and passing land down to the next generation builds wealth. So the consequences of that decision are seen today. Approximately 45 million living white Americans have benefited from this massive asset-building legislation.
I would argue that virtually all Black people throughout the diaspora, the African diaspora, have a claim for reparations, but they don't all have a claim for reparations from the United States government.
That last gentleman speaking was Dr. Sandy Darity. You've heard me say his name before. That's someone, if you want to know more about reparations and reparation study, that's the guy I would say you go listen to and get some information about.
Yeah. Okay. So, just to piggyback off of what Thea said, to add insult to injury. So we're not going to give you the land, former slaves. We're going to give it back as reparations, because that's what it is. Reparations to former slave owners to make up for losing. And what was the word that was used? Was it property?
Their property.
For losing property for a small fee, because, again, we are in America. You ain't getting jack free. But for a small fee. And I'm going to leave it at that, because the third video goes even more in depth of what that accumulated. I know it doesn't make sense how I'm saying it now. It will after you see the video. So, yeah. So, former slaves, I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I give a damn that I'm sorry for what I did for you, but we need to make up to the former slave owners for losing their property. So not only are we going to take the land from you, we're going to give it to them for a small fee. And just to go a little further into the future, that the small fee that they did the exact same thing in Britain. That small fee was paid off in 2015. If you estimate it now, the money accumulated for that is in the billions. That estimate was in 2021. So I don't have an update on it now. Or I did, but I'm still not quite sure because somebody skewed it for me. But at the last time that I saw was in 2022, it accumulated $65 billion.
The debt owed to us is way, way past that. But what I was going to say for people just kind of understand, first we got to frame what slavery is. Because see, in America, it's become just too cute. It's just a word, right? It's like when you hear the word Holocaust. You take this big, massive, horrible event and you pull it together and you get one little nice word. And we say it's a Holocaust, and then we say, oh, that was such a terrible time. And then you take slavery and you got the same thing. 300 years, 290 something years of chattel slavery, and we just squeeze it all the way down, and then we just say slavery. It's human trafficking, it's rape, it's murder. It's separating husband from wife, wife from child. It's literally, look it up, stealing babies, infants, because you want the meat to be tender, stealing babies and using them for bait to capture alligators. This, my friends, is the American white structure that we're dealing with. Okay? This is not the guy sitting on the porch drinking lemonade and the white lady fanning herself. No, this is the dehumanization. This is people keeping other people as pets. And that worse than that, treating them worse than pets. Okay? So one thing, this is where I do get upset, is when anyone tries to compare their struggle to ours. First of all, this is not the Pain Olympics. Don't compare your struggles. Your struggles are your struggles. But the other thing is, other than the indigenous people, no one else has had to first fight for their humanity. So this is why a lot of times you don't find me on parity with even my white allies, because you've never had to fight for your humanity. You had to fight for your rights. We had to first get humanity to then fight for rights. And we're still fighting for our rights. This is not an equal field, folks. So when you look at the 40 acres and the mule scenario, the whole thing, and then you want to say, well, we don't want to look at that. Well, the reason why you don't want to look at that is because you're personalizing it and it's making you feel bad. You know what? Fuck your feelings, okay? First of all, if you want to be serious about something, you need to understand that this is not us talking about Bill. This is not us talking about Jane. This is talking about an entire structure. This is talking about an entire history of abuse that is documented, well thought out, orchestrated, and everything. We are talking about the oppression, murder, genocide, the whole nine that was done by committee. This is a bunch of your most intelligent, learned people getting together and deciding what they will do to other people. And now here we are in the year of our Lord, 2023, and we still can't get to a real discussion on reparations because you don't want to learn the foundation of what the discussion is about. And that right there is the key, the lynch piece. So like right now we're dealing with all this stuff where they don't want us to teach education. They don't want us to teach people about history, right? It's not so much, well, it is because they don't want to feel bad. That's true. And it's also because they don't want to have difficult discussions with their children because they don't want to do that because they themselves know they don't know enough to handle the questions that their child will bring to them, right? But it's also the longer we can stretch out the time between the event and the discussion, the less you can have an emotional and rational attachment to that which is being discussed. The more you can say, but every black person I know lives just like me. Now, no, that's a different discussion because we don't. But that's the part that does get under my skin is just try, folks. Just try to learn something. I'm not saying you gotta know everything, but come on.
The only thing that irks me, and it's a small rant, it really is, because I done got to the point where I try not to be desensitized to this subject, but I hate the part where people keep saying, well, we got to look up the history of it because not everybody whose descendants was from slaves, so we don't know. And my comment to them is, so you want us to look through our history. Now, here's the part where you don't know your history, because you have to realize that the first thing that they did to the slaves when they got off the ship was erase their history. What was the first thing that they did to them when they got off the ship? Renamed them. You're not what your name was in that other country. You are who I deemed your new name is. Thus, renaming you, renaming your history, renaming your legacy. So to tell me that we need to go and look back at our history to find out what history? Because that was literally the first thing you did when they got off the ship. The first thing you did. Purposely now. That was part of the plan.
This is well thought out.
They wrote a book then. They wrote a book. They wrote a book on it. How to do this. That was the first thing you did was erase the Africans' history. So please miss me with we need to go look back through our history. You knew what you was doing. Well, they knew they was doing. You know what you were saying. Well, that's being nice. You may not know what the hell you're talking about. That was just one of those things that you just like to throw out there for the hell of it because it sounds good. But
the beauty of being white in America is the ability to opt out of a discussion you don't want to be in. So you can opt out of things that make you uncomfortable. You can opt out of accountability. You can opt out of all of those things. And because everything centers whiteness in America, you can now internalize whatever is said to you and feel like a quote unquote Karen and go towards, why are you making me feel this way? Why are you coming at me this way? And it's like, no, this, sorry, sweetheart, this ain't about you, right? This is about an overarching structure that you refuse to look at because you know you also benefit from it. And so no one is telling individual A that they must make amends for something that they personally had nothing to do with. I'm not making that argument. The people who are making that argument, I don't agree with them. What we're saying to you is, what is it that brought your people to this point? Now, if it was pure competition, then there's no argument here. Some people just play the game better, and bravo. But if we can track back an unbroken history that brings us to where you are now, like the favorite argument of people in a quote unquote right is what work ethic and pull yourself up by your bootstraps type thing, right? You know, my granddaddy was poor. My granddaddy worked a farm, and that's just what he had to do. And we suffered being hungry. And two of my grand uncles, they died of leopard, whatever the thing is, the stuff we do on Oregon Trail, right? Cool. Ain't nobody taking none of that from you. That shit happened. I'm cool. But let's ask, how did your daddy get that? How did your great granddaddy get that farm? Where's the deed to that land? Dig it out. Ask for it. Odds are either one, it was gifted to your family as part of the westward expansion. Two, it came down through someone who was here longer than that, who just happened because only white people could have land, got the land. Three, the people who had the land were run off the land and your family took the land. Those are the three ways you got this land. So tell me again about this hard work, right? So it's like, this is the frustration that you get with people, especially like me, because I'm like, before I'll even have a real discussion with you, you got to do some research. Don't come to me to learn what I've had to take the time to go learn. Learn a little bit, then we can have a conversation and we can do something from there. Because before, other than that, unless you're under the age of 25, I'm looking at you like you're crazy. Because only people I give a pass on ignorance is people under age 25.
All right, Tracy. I tried to save you because I know you went to church today, but what you got?
This country is amazing. First, you illegally take the land from indigenous people. You give it to white people. Then you say you're going to give it to people that you enslaved against their will, but it was never your land to begin with. What? Are you, like, how stupid do conservatives think we are? Just, like, do you think we're just, like, stuck on stupid or something? Like, we're just sitting here like, well, whatever you tell us, we'll believe. I mean, yeah, I'm grateful to live here, but trust and believe. If they let us back in Cuba, gone, bye, see you, don't want to be you. I'm so sick of the hypocrisy. It doesn't make sense. When Japanese Americans got reparations, this argument wasn't made. When President Obama passed reparations for the indigenous people, this argument wasn't made. Black people have been fighting for reparations since what, 68? What'd you say it is?
Sorry, 1865, when we are
1865.
allegedly were freed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been fighting for almost, let me do my math, 200 and some plus years? Are y'all serious? Yes, I'm mad. I am mad. I am tired. That little commission they did, I don't need a study to tell me that we deserve, no, we need to start demanding reparations. Stop this with this committee stuff and we're going to study. I don't need a study. I know what you did in terms of the system. I know how you did it. You don't have to, there's nothing else to study. This isn't a test. You failed it. Now it's time to pay up. And now I'm done.
But see, that's just it. So a study, it is. We do need studies, right? But they're using this purely as a delay, not even
It's
a
a
delay,
delay.
just a deflection. It's just a deflection. Like they never intend to actually do anything. So what does Congress do whenever something happens? We're going to form a commission, right? That's just what, and nothing ever
A
comes
study
out
committee.
of it, right?
Like, okay.
Right?
Let me cut in real quick, Theas, because I didn't even notice this. The video showed the first committee. I didn't even know there was a first committee. Sorry for my ignorance. Because I remember the second committee, Tim Scott and all of them during the pandemic.
Tim Scott's all about police violence.
What?
He don't care nothing about reparations. Tim Scott is police violence.
Yeah,
Police reform.
How do you connect reparations with police violence?
he's
No, you
saying
said
that
Tim
Tim
Scott.
Scott is not for. He
Oh,
concentrates
no.
his
He
efforts on
wasn't.
police
He was on
violence.
the committee.
Oh,
What?
okay.
I just remember him being on the committee. That was why I went on that short little rant about looking through history and blah, blah, blah. I remember that was his argument. That was the second one because I remember that they had to have a vote. And I went, wait a minute, they fit a vote on reparations? See, this is how ignorant I was. They fit a vote on reparations? No, they fit a vote in, it was approved. Reparation was approved? Yes. Yes, we're going to, it has been approved for a committee to look into reparations.
Yeah.
And
we
what was that
approved.
committee
We
was
discussed it.
formed? That committee was formed back in what, 2000 and
Some version of it has existed, I want to say, since the 60s.
yeah, I was gonna say the 60s or the 70s, one of the two. But I'm talking about the most recent one. The most recent one.
The most recent one was 2021. It literally was like at the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh well, that's only what.
And I remember that
years.
because I saw it online.
I'll let them slide on that one. But it has been studied. Again, why you studying it? We know what happened.
You
We
ain't gonna
know
get
what the government promised. You did it for all the other communities, which you should have. I'm not here to say, oh, Japanese Americans deserve that. Absolutely, they should have. But now when it's black, you got a problem with it? Oh no.
Tracy. What did I say? What did I say during the when we was talking? There is no new problems. There is no new solution. It's just new people that you're telling it to. None of this stuff that we're telling you is new.
Yeah, that and like there's no sincere desire to do anything. There are plenty of think tanks and scholars and everywhere across the country and across the world that have done all the research and the data. There are numbers behind everything. There's everything. Yeah. Congress doesn't want to do anything because to do something big, America's not built for doing things big. If whoever tries to do anything big in this country will be immediately punished. If Barack Obama had tried to push for reparations, then he would have been out as soon as they could get rid of him, probably before the end of his term. If Biden tried to do it, same thing. If Trump had tried to do it, same thing.
Yeah, Trump wasn't trying it.
Trump, hey, I'm not saying he would. I'm just making the point that it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. The voters, all of us, are too lazy and distracted to reward who we should reward and punish who we should punish. What we do is we listen to news cycles, and news cycles tell you about who is making trouble. And this would make it sound like someone's making trouble, because here's what would happen. They would say, okay, America is going to position itself to do reparations for the American descendants of the descendants of American chattel slavery, right? Cool. Now, what are the news feeds going to blast? It's going to say American descendants of slavery, ADOS, against all other black people, or America denies reparations to people who were enslaved in the islands, or America is going to have to go through this massive tax hike because black people are crying. It's like, that's what's going to happen. And then the voters are going to turn around.
Yeah.
And then the voters are going to turn around and punish everyone whose name can be remembered. And the names that will be remembered are the ones who took point on making such things happen. So now you voted out the same people who were trying to do something for you.
Just say you not for it though. This is where I get frustrated with Congress. Just say I'm not for reparations. Black people, sit down, shut up. You should be happy to be here. Don't give me this little pooty poopy.
They've been
study
saying
commission.
That. They've been saying that all along.
You're gonna give me a commission. A commission. You're literally wasting
my
time.
They've been telling you to shut up and be happy for a long time.
And what they're trying to do is, dog whistle to the white community of saying, "Hey, we're not against reparations. We're not against.
We just don't want to raise your taxes.
Just understand that it will affect you in some type of way, because it's amazing in this country that we literally can't afford nothing,
but pay for every war we can.
The richest country in the world can't afford absolutely positively nothing until we can." And have. We need to send weapons.
Exactly.
We got it. When we need to send aid, we got it. When we need to send anything that's going to help another country out of whatever they're going through, which I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying when it's time for something to do with humanitarianism of international, we have that money. When we sit there and tell you that Ferguson need more clean water because the water that we got in there is killing the people in that damn city, we broke.
Yo, excellent point. Let me bring this in and make it real crystal clear for some people. All right, Flint water, right? That was government action that changed it to the wrong water source and poisoned an entire community that it still has a problem to this day. Okay. And you can't unwind the poisoning to all those young people who are now adults who are messed up behind that stuff. So that's that one, right? And they didn't want federal intervention because they said that was a state problem. Okay, so notice though, in Ohio right now, those train cars that overturn and have poisoned that community, what is the cry? The cry is not for Ohio to fix it. The cry is for Biden to step up and help fix it. Now, personally, that ain't Biden's problem. That's actually Congress's problem, and Congress needs to fix it. But I agree that the federal government is the one who should step up and take care of its people. But it's amazing how you can do this and people have such short memories that, yes, let's call for the federal government to help when the hurricane tore up the East Coast of America. Yes, let's work on the government when this train cars have turned over, but it's always federal government, come quickly, help us now when it's white people, but when it's non-white people, it ain't none of that.
Look at Katrina.
Okay.
Look how long they took with Katrina.
Katrina,
you
for
don't
example.
have to go to Katrina. Look at every hurricane hit environment. Florida was the last one in this whole group, and they had no problem, even though.
No, but I'm saying, look how long it took for the people of Katrina to get help.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Because it's called benign. Yeah. It's called benign neglect. And see, the thing is, people don't want to look at what they aren't made to look at, and white America is able to opt out of the conversation, and that is what happens. You naturally reflexively pull away from pain. So if you see something that is causing you any type of pain, psychic or physical, you pull back from it. And if you have the ability to pull back and go somewhere less harmful, you'll do it. And that's what white America does. Black America, poor white people, Latinos, anybody who's in a vulnerable situation are people who are with disabilities. Because I try to say it that way. I don't say disabled people. I say people with disabilities. All of these people cannot run away from the reality. There
Sure
is
can.
no opt out, right? So with Katrina, it disproportionately affected Black people because guess what? We are disproportionately poor, and that is where redlining, that is where steering, that is where economic blight was pushed into the third ward, pushed into the bowl where the
Put this
worst
back on
land
the board
is.
for everybody to read.
I can't read it. I'm sorry.
White has options.
Whites have options.
Yeah. So, excuse me for 1 second, y'all. Y'all go ahead.
Well,
But-
we're gonna go ahead and just go to the next video to go ahead and loop this all back around. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the spur. Anna, did you have something to say? I apologize. Hey,
Hey, this my youngest one. This my baby Layla.
Oh,
hey, Layla.
sweetheart.
I see pictures of you all the time. Your daddy is so proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye, Layla. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. You have anything to say, Anna?
Well, obviously, I don't have a lot to add. I'm here, and I'm listening very intently, and I know you're not looking for it from me, but as a white person, damn, I am so sorry. It's
Yeah, we're used to it.
yeah.
No. Don't shrug it off, Marlon.
I'm not gonna
And
shrug it
Anna,
off.
I appreciate it.
I thank you, Anna. I appreciate you very, very much.
Well, I wasn't saying it like that, Marlon, to put you on Front Street. That's not what I was saying.
no,
I was just saying, yeah, I was just saying that it's like this. I appreciate it when, first of all, on a personal level, Anna, I appreciate the fact that you are always open to learning things and figuring things out for yourself. So that is something that speaks to your heart. But you have the type of heart that's always reaching out, that's always trying to figure out how other people are. You're an empath. That's kind of like that's your way. Okay. If we want to move the proverbial ball forward, then these types of discussions must start to occur more often with people who are actually in a position to do something, right? So
Right.
one of the things you heard me say way back in the past, which I still hold to, is, you know what I'm saying, white folks out there that are sympathetic or empathetic or aware or motivated or whatever, because the larger movement has never always been Black. There have always been people of every different background involved, right? But you want to help, don't come over here with a whole bunch of Black folks and want to help. Talk to your peoples, right? Go to the places we cannot go and have certain conversations because the door will be shut immediately, or it might even be dangerous for us to do so, right? Have those conversations with your friends. When someone says an off-colored joke, address the joke. Those types of things. Those are the things that people can do, right? And then you got on my particular, this is not something that any of the other three people here have ever said that they correspond to or apply to. So these are the words of theists only. I am a person who can function in any type of world. I can function with any group of people because on an individual level, I think people have the potential to be amazing or terrible. So I don't have a problem interacting with anybody individually. But given my choice, I would be like the Black minister that when they came to him about the 40 acres and a mule proposition, and they asked him, would you like to have land where you can be separate? Or would you like to have reparations where you would be interspersed with white folks? And he said, separate us, please. That's me.
Yep.
I have no problem. Straight up and down. I can live with y'all or I can live without y'all. That's literally how I feel, because on an individual basis, people are amazing. As a collective, all I got to do is open a book. Okay? All I got to do is turn on the news. All right. It ain't black folk talking about you can't teach white history. That ain't happening. Right? It ain't black folk killing white people on TV and keeping it on repeat. Right? That ain't happening. So the culture is toxic. So given the opportunity, I would rather be much more of a partnership, cooperative situation where like you got the different communities, we're all Americans, we're all under the same, legal system. We interact at work, we build businesses together, we do all the things that we do. And then when it's time to go home, I go to hella home and I ain't got to deal with nobody. And unfortunately, that's not a perfect system either, because there's a lot of crap I got to deal with over here with my folk. But at least I would be dealing with them. One aspect that wouldn't be at play is me being harmed just because of the color of my skin. And that, like I said, that is just my thing. Ain't nobody else said that. But if we want to move this forward, we got to have the conversations. White people got to have conversations with white people. Black people got to have conversations with black people. And black and white people need to have conversations together.
Mm.